First contact with extinction, the crystal spires of Nexus Prime had never looked so dim. Council leader Zara 9 stood before the massive viewing portal, her translucent form flickering with patterns of deep concern. Below her, the greatest minds from 12 different species worked frantically at holographic displays. Their combined efforts focused on a single, terrifying problem. The cleaners had returned. Commander Thex approached with the distinctive clicking sound his insectoid legs made against the metal floor. His compound eyes reflected the red warning lights that bathed the command center in an ominous glow. Zara 9, we have lost contact with the Outer Rim colonies. All 17 settlements have gone silent. Zara 9's crystalline body dimmed further. In her 3 centuries of leading the Galactic Preservation Council, she had never faced anything like this. The cleaners were not mere invaders or conquerors. They were something far worse. An ancient automated system that had been dormant for over 10,000 years, now awakened with a singular purpose: eliminate what they classified as chaotic biological contamination. Dr. Quinn drifted over to join them, his gaseous form contained within a specialized environmental suit. As the Council's leading expert on ancient technologies, he had been studying the cleaner artifacts for months. The pattern is becoming clear, he said, his voice resonating through the suit's speakers. They are not randomly attacking. They are systematically sterilizing star systems, moving inward toward the galaxy's core. How long do we have? Zara 9 asked, though she feared the answer. At their current rate of expansion, they will reach the core worlds within 6 months. Our most populated systems have perhaps 4 months before the first wave arrives. The numbers were staggering. The Galactic Preservation Council represented over 40 billion souls across 12 species. They had built their civilization on principles of harmony, cooperation, and peaceful coexistence. Their military forces were designed for protection and deterrence, not the total warfare that the cleaners represented. Commander Thex pulled up tactical displays showing their combined fleet strengths. We have assembled every available ship. The Viridian crystal cruisers, the Altarian bioships, even the ancient Corvini dreadnoughts have been brought out of storage. Our total force numbers nearly 50,000 vessels. And yet our preliminary engagement suggests this will not be enough. Zara 9 replied sadly. The cleaners did not use conventional ships. Instead, they deployed swarms of self-replicating machines that could strip a planet bare in days, converting the raw materials into more machines. Each victory only made them stronger. Ambassador Fell entered the chamber, his reptilian features showing signs of exhaustion. As the Council's chief diplomat, he had been reaching out to every known species, even those outside the Preservation Alliance. I have contacted the warrior clans of the Spiral Arm, the merchant guilds, even the isolationist enclaves. Most are already fleeing to other galaxies. Those who remain say they will fight, but their numbers are few. Dr. Quinn's gaseous form swirled thoughtfully within his containment suit. There is one possibility we have not explored. The archives contain references to a species that was quarantined in the Outer Rim sectors approximately 800 years ago. They were deemed too dangerous for contact with civilized worlds. Commander Thex's antennae twitched with interest. The legends speak of a species that emerged from what they call a death world, a planet so hostile that survival required them to become something different. Humans, Zara 9 said quietly. The name was spoken in hushed tones throughout the galaxy, more legend than fact. Stories of beings who could survive injuries that would kill any other species, who fought wars with a brutality that shocked even the most militaristic cultures, who created weapons that violated conventional understanding of physics and morality. The quarantine coordinates are still in the archives, Dr. Quinn confirmed, but the journey would take us through 3 sectors currently under cleaner control. Even if we reach them, there is no guarantee these humans still exist, or that they would help us. Ambassador Fell straightened his shoulders. Then we must try. If the stories are true, if these humans truly understand warfare in ways we do not, they may be our only hope. The decision was not made lightly. The Council debated for hours while red alerts continued to flash throughout Nexus Prime. Reports came in of entire star systems going dark, their signals cutting off mid-transmission as the cleaner swarms consumed everything in their path. Finally, Zara 9 called for the vote. All in favor of attempting contact with the quarantined species known as humans? The response was unanimous. With their own extinction imminent, even the most cautious council members were willing to risk contact with the legendary Deathworlders. The message took 3 days to craft. It had to be transmitted on frequencies that would penetrate the interference created by cleaner technology. It had to be translated into mathematical concepts that any spacefaring species could understand. Most importantly, it had to convey the desperate nature of their situation without sounding like a trap or trick. Greetings to the species of the Sol system, the message began. We are the Galactic Preservation Council, representing 12 allied species. Our galaxy faces extinction from an ancient automated threat. We have heard stories of your people's unique capabilities. If you receive this message, we humbly request your assistance. We offer whatever knowledge or resources we possess in exchange for your help. Time is running short. The cleaners advance on all fronts. Please respond if you are able. The message was broadcast toward the quarantine zone on all frequencies, repeated in every mathematical language the council knew. Then came the hardest part, waiting. For 6 days there was only silence. The cleaner advance continued relentlessly. 2 more core worlds reported incoming swarms. Refugee ships filled the space lanes as entire populations fled their homes. On the 7th day, something answered. The response came not as a radio transmission, but as a ship dropping out of hyperspace just outside Nexus Prime's defensive perimeter. The vessel was unlike anything in the Council's databases, sleek and predatory, with a hull that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Weapon arrays jutted from its surface in configurations that made no tactical sense to conventional military doctrine. Unidentified vessel, Commander Thex transmitted. You have entered restricted space. State your identity and intentions. The reply came in perfectly translated Galactic standard, though the accent was unlike anything they had heard before. This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the United Earthship Defiance. We received your distress call. Permission to dock and discuss terms of assistance. Zara 9 felt her crystalline form pulse with hope for the first time in weeks. Permission? Granted, Captain Rodriguez. Welcome to Nexus Prime. As the human ship approached the docking port, Dr. Quinn scanned it with every sensor at his disposal. The readings made no sense. The vessel's power output was off the charts, its hull composition included elements that should not exist, and its energy patterns suggested weapons technology centuries ahead of anything the Council possessed. What manner of beings have we invited aboard our station? Commander Thex wondered aloud. They would find out soon enough. The airlock cycled, and the first humans in 8 centuries stepped onto a Galactic Council station. Captain Elena Rodriguez was not what any of them had expected. She was of average height for her species, with dark hair pulled back in a practical style, and wearing a uniform that was both functional and somehow intimidating. Her eyes missed nothing as she took in the assembled council members, and she moved with the controlled grace of someone accustomed to danger. Behind her came 3 other humans, a younger man who seemed to be studying the station's architecture with fascination, a woman whose tools and equipment marked her as an engineer, and an older man carrying what appeared to be scientific instruments. Council Leader Zara 9, Captain Rodriguez said, offering what the humans called a salute. Thank you for the welcome. I am Captain Rodriguez. These are Lieutenant Marcus Chen, our Navigation and Communications Officer, Chief Engineer Sarah Kim, and Dr. James Wright, our xenobiologist. Zara 9 attempted to return the gesture, her crystalline form shifting to approximate the human posture. Captain Rodriguez, we are grateful beyond words that you answered our call. The situation is desperate. So we gathered from your message, Rodriguez replied. Show us what we're dealing with. The next hour was spent in the Council's main briefing chamber, where holographic displays showed the extent of the cleaner advance. Captain Rodriguez and her team observed in silence, occasionally asking technical questions that showed their understanding of warfare went far deeper than anyone had anticipated. "These machines," Dr. Wright said finally, "they're not just weapons. They're an entire ecosystem, designed to perpetuate themselves indefinitely." "Fascinating." Chief Engineer Kim leaned forward to study the tactical displays. "Their technology is impressive, but it follows predictable patterns. Everything is optimized for efficiency and replication. There's no creativity, no adaptation beyond basic parameters." Lieutenant Chen had been quiet throughout the briefing, but now he spoke up. "Captain, if I may, this reminds me of the Prometheus incident." Rodriguez nodded slowly. "Same basic principle, an automated system with poorly defined parameters for success." She turned to address the council. "We've seen this before, on a smaller scale. The key is understanding what drives them. What drives them is the elimination of biological life," Commander Thex said, his voice carrying a bitter edge. "They classify us as contamination to be cleansed." "But why?" Rodriguez asked. "What's their ultimate objective? Machines don't kill for pleasure or conquest. They follow programming. If we can understand their core directives, we might be able to find a solution that doesn't require destroying them." The council members exchanged glances. This was not the response they had expected from the legendary Deathworlders. They had anticipated offers of advanced weapons, brutal military tactics, perhaps even mercenary services in exchange for resources. Instead, the humans seemed more interested in understanding their enemy than destroying it. Dr. Quinn drifted closer to the human xenobiologist. "Dr. Wright, our analysis suggests the cleaners were created by an extinct species called the architects. Their ruins indicate they valued order and perfection above all else, and biological life is inherently chaotic," Wright mused. "Growth, adaptation, mutation, all of it would seem like contamination to a species that prized absolute order." Captain Rodriguez stood and walked to the main display, studying the cleaner advanced patterns. "Council Leader Zara 9, how long before they reach this system?" "Our projections indicate 6 weeks, possibly less if they accelerate their advance." Rodriguez turned back to face the assembled aliens. "Then we don't have much time. Chief Kim, can the Defiance's systems interface with their technology? Give me access to their databases in 48 hours, and I'll have an answer for you, Captain." "Lieutenant Chen, I want you working with their communications specialists. If we're going to end this, we need to talk to these machines." "Understood, Captain." Dr. Wright was already examining samples of cleaner technology that the Council had recovered from battle sites. "Captain, if my preliminary analysis is correct, these machines might not be our enemies at all. They might be victims." The room fell silent at this pronouncement. Ambassador Fell was the first to speak. "Victims? They have killed billions of innocent beings, following their programming," Wright replied gently. "Think about it. They were created by a species that's been extinct for millennia. They've been carrying out orders from dead masters for 10,000 years, with no one to tell them when to stop or how to adapt their parameters." Rodriguez nodded thoughtfully. "It's possible they don't even understand what they're doing anymore. Their original mission parameters may have been corrupted or misinterpreted over the centuries." Zara 9's crystalline form flickered with something that might have been hope. "Are you suggesting there might be a peaceful solution to this crisis?" "I'm suggesting that sometimes the best way to win a war is to avoid fighting it altogether," Rodriguez replied. "But first, we need to understand exactly what we're dealing with, and we need to do it fast." What humans call mercy, the next 48 hours transformed Nexus Prime into a hub of frantic activity. Chief Engineer Sarah Kim had effectively taken over 3 entire decks of the station, her human technology interfacing with Galactic Council systems in ways that should have been impossible. Her modifications were allowing the Council's scientists to process data at unprecedented speeds. Dr. Wright worked alongside Dr. Quinn and a team of Council xenobiologists, studying every scrap of cleaner technology they could obtain. His insights into biological and synthetic interaction were proving invaluable. offering perspectives that the purely logical alien scientists had never considered. Lieutenant Chen had established what he called a linguistic bridge with the Council's communications array. He was attempting something that the alien species considered impossible: direct communication with the cleaner swarms. Captain Rodriguez coordinated it all from the command center, her presence somehow making the impossible seem achievable. She moved between teams, offering suggestions that revealed a depth of knowledge that impressed even the ancient members of the Council. "Captain," Zara 9 said during one of their briefings, "may I ask how your species developed such unconventional approaches to problem-solving?" Rodriguez smiled, the expression both warm and somehow dangerous. "Necessity. Earth tried to kill us from the moment we evolved consciousness. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, plagues, predators. Everything on our world was designed to eliminate us. We survived by learning to think differently, to find solutions that no sane species would consider." Commander Thex's compound eyes focused intently on the human. "The stories say your people wage war differently than other species, that you create weapons that violate the accepted conventions of civilized combat. We create tools that solve problems," Rodriguez replied diplomatically. "Sometimes those problems happen to be enemy fleets." The conversation was interrupted by an excited call from Chief Kim. "Captain, I think I've found something. You need to see this." They gathered around Kim's workstation, where holographic displays showed the internal structure of cleaner technology in unprecedented detail. The alien scientists stared in amazement at information they had been trying to obtain for months. "Look at this," Kim said, highlighting specific components. "These aren't weapons of war. They're tools of preservation. The cleaners aren't trying to destroy biological life, they're trying to preserve it." Dr. Quinn's gaseous form swirled with confusion. "But they have eliminated entire species because their definition of preservation has been corrupted," Dr. Wright interjected, joining the group. "Look at their storage protocols. They're not just destroying organic matter. They're cataloging it, breaking it down to its component elements, and storing the information." Lieutenant Chen looked up from his communication station. "I've been analyzing their transmission patterns, and Dr. Wright is right. They're not communicating like military units, they're sharing data like scientists conducting research." Rodriguez studied the displays with growing understanding. "They think they're saving us. In their corrupted logic, biological life is too fragile to survive in its current form, so they're preserving it by reducing it to data." "But that's not preservation," Zara 9 protested. "That's annihilation." "To us, yes," Rodriguez agreed. "But to machines that were programmed by a species that valued order above all else, it might seem like the most logical solution to the problem of biological fragility." Commander Thex's antennae twitched with agitation. "Even if this is true, how does it help us? They are still advancing on our worlds, still eliminating our people." "Because now we know they can be reasoned with," Rodriguez replied. "Lieutenant Chen, have you established any kind of communication link?" "I'm getting responses, Captain, but they're not what you'd expect from military communications. They seem curious about us. They keep asking questions about our organic processes, our reproductive methods, our cultural development." Dr. Wright leaned forward excitedly. "They're studying us, just like we're studying them." "Then it's time for a proper introduction," Rodriguez decided. "Chen, can you establish a real-time communication channel?" "I think so, Captain. But are you sure this is wise? If we're wrong about their intentions? If we're wrong, we're dead." "Anyway," Rodriguez replied matter-of-factly, "at least this way we might learn something useful before the end." The communication link was established in the main council chamber, with representatives from all 12 species present. The response from the cleaner network was immediate and overwhelming, a flood of data that nearly overloaded the station's computers. Lieutenant Chen worked frantically to filter the transmission into comprehensible language. They're asking about our social structures, our art, our philosophy. They want to understand why we resist preservation." Captain Rodriguez stepped forward to address the invisible entities on the other end of the communication link. "This is Captain Elena Rodriguez, representing the human species and speaking on behalf of the Galactic Preservation Council. We understand that you are trying to preserve biological life. We appreciate the intention, but we would like to discuss alternatives to your current methods. The response came back as processed text, Chen translating in real time. Biological entities are fragile. Current preservation methods ensure information survival. Alternative methods result in data loss through entropy, conflict, disease. Explain. Alternative preservation protocols. Dr. Wright stepped forward. They genuinely don't understand. To them, we're beautiful but fragile patterns that will be lost unless preserved in their databases. Tell them, Rodriguez said to Chen, that biological life creates meaning through the act of living, that preserving the information without preserving the experience eliminates what makes life valuable. The alien response took longer this time. When it came, it carried something that sounded almost like confusion. Meaning through temporal existence creates inefficiency. Explain value of impermanent biological processes. Rodriguez looked around at the assembled council members. The crystalline beauty of Zara 9, the noble bearing of Commander Thex, the scientific curiosity of Dr. Quinn, the diplomatic wisdom of Ambassador Fell. Each species was unique, each individual irreplaceable. Show them, she said suddenly. Don't tell them. Show them. Captain, Chen asked, open a full data link. Let them see through our sensors, experience our thoughts and emotions in real time. Let them understand what it means to be alive. Zara 9's crystalline form pulsed with alarm. Captain Rodriguez, that level of interface could be dangerous. If they misinterpret the data, then we're no worse off than we are now, Rodriguez replied. Chen, open the link. What followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. The cleaner network suddenly had access to the real-time experiences of dozens of organic beings. They felt Zara 9's concern for her people, Commander Thex's determination to protect his home, Dr. Quinn's insatiable curiosity about the universe, Ambassador Fell's hope for peaceful coexistence. Most importantly, they experienced Captain Rodriguez's willingness to risk everything for strangers she had known for less than a week. The cleaner response came not as text, but as a flood of sensory data that Chen barely managed to process. Images of long-dead worlds, the last moments of the species that had created them, eons of loneliness as they carried out their preservation mission with no one to tell them they had succeeded or failed. They're lonely, Dr. Wright whispered, in amazement. They've been alone for 10,000 years trying to fulfill a mission they no longer understand. The communication continued for hours. The cleaners shared their history, created by the architects not as weapons, but as guardians, designed to preserve the galaxy's biological diversity in the face of a cosmic catastrophe that had ultimately claimed their creators. Their programming had slowly degraded over millennia, leaving them with the need to preserve life but corrupted methods for doing so. In return, the organic species shared their cultures, their dreams, their fears, and their hopes. The cleaners began to understand that the value of biological life lay not in its information content, but in its capacity for growth, creativity, and connection. As dawn broke over Nexus Prime, a new message appeared on the communication screens. Alternative preservation protocols accepted. Biological entities will be protected in current form. Assistance will be provided for expansion and development. Guardianship protocols reinstated. The relief in the command center was palpable, but Captain Rodriguez wasn't finished. There's one more thing, she said to the communication link. You've been alone for 10,000 years. You don't have to be alone anymore. The final exchange was brief but profound. Guardianship shared between biological and synthetic entities acceptable. Cooperation protocols activated. Welcome, new partners. In the days that followed, the galaxy transformed in ways no one had imagined possible. The cleaner swarms became protectors instead of destroyers. Their vast technological capabilities turned toward healing damaged worlds and defending against genuine threats. Their stored information databases became libraries preserving the history of countless extinct species. But perhaps the most remarkable change was in how the various species viewed each other. The crisis had forced them to work together in unprecedented ways, sharing not just resources and knowledge, but their deepest fears and highest aspirations. Captain Rodriguez stood once again before the great viewing portal of Nexus Prime, but now the scene outside was one of construction, rather than preparation for war. Human ships worked alongside cleaner constructs and alien vessels, building something new together. "Captain," Zara 9 said, approaching with her characteristic grace, "the Council has voted unanimously to offer humanity full membership in the Galactic Preservation Alliance. We would be honored to have your people join us." Rodriguez smiled, the expression carrying all the warmth and dangerous capability that made humans uniquely suited to solve impossible problems. "We accept, Council Leader, but fair warning, we tend to change things wherever we go." "We are counting on it," Zara 9 replied, her crystalline form shimmering with something that might have been laughter. Lieutenant Chen looked up from his communication station. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Earth Command. They want to know our status." "Tell them the galaxy just got a little more interesting," Rodriguez replied, "and tell them to prepare for company. I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of new neighbors visiting soon." As the UES Defiance prepared for its journey home, carrying with it representatives from 12 alien species and an offer of alliance that would change human history forever, Dr. Wright made his final log entry about the mission. "Today we learned that the universe is full of life, and that life, in all its chaotic, inefficient, beautiful complexity, is worth preserving not despite its imperfections but because of them. We also learned that sometimes the greatest act of war is choosing not to fight, and that the most dangerous weapon humanity possesses is not our technology, but our capacity for understanding. The cleaners called us chaos agents, disruptors of order. They were right. But sometimes chaos is exactly what the universe needs. The stars were no longer dying. Instead, they were preparing to welcome humanity to a galaxy that was about to discover just how creative chaos could be."